free one.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant. Authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door. Tell your mama hungry.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
It was a monumental game for A&M and Tampa. It was a monumental game. Somebody had to lose, and thank God it was them this time.
We knew it was going to be a battle. Look at Jake Ave's record. 202 and 36, I think. Some off-the-wall figures.
And nobody would play him because they didn't want to take a chance of getting beat. But the truth of it is,
over 46,000 tickets. Blacks were sitting in the east stands. Whites were sitting in the west stands. And the score wound up 34-28.
The only thing we proved that we wasn't inferior, that we were not inferior, and we were not afraid.
For one night, for 160 minutes, we was better than them.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
YT Productions.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. And you gon' learn today, you gon' learn today how your team they play, how they play, boy. You gon' learn today how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that SWAC, that MEAC, and let me say, what's up to Tennessee, stay, tune into the HBCU Sports Lab.
This is Dr. Shaunetta Cavil with Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. How you doing, gentlemen?
Doing well, Dr. Cavil. Good to be back in for another week.
I know. I see.
Awesome.
Homeowners, he's ready for the debut.
I see.
1876 Sports and Culture. We're going to get into a little more of that and show him some love among some other folks in the group as well. Last week we had none other than Charles Bishop talking about the 1400 Club and breaking it down in terms of what that looks like. And now we're going to detour back to the west side of the SWAC, if you would, going from east to west. So with that, let me just welcome everybody to episode 99 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that is covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports from the institutions, large and small, from NAIA to NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Cavil, along with my co-hosts, Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We are filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to our Caseways 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, none other than the legendary Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Ralph is continuing to be such a great ambassador to the city of Houston with his events, including the Christmas Day gifts that he was able to give. And my son was happy when he snuck in the car and got him a delayed Christmas gift. He didn't know how to act.
No.
The blessing and the thought certainly were there from Ralph Cooper, his uncle, Radio Hall of Fame Uncle Ralph Cooper, getting a lot of things done. So just wanted to give a shout out to Ralph Cooper, just for him being the legend that he is, and we're going to celebrate him while he continues to be with us in so many different ways. So today, thank you for that, Charles. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THD Agency. THD Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. We're going to push the vehicle a little more for 2021, so you'll see us out there, a little more promotion and about helping some of our HBCUs in consulting ways. So look forward for us to continue to push forward. Before I go to you all, gentlemen, if you would allow me, as we talk about today's show, will be a good one as we continue to hope that we'll always bring you these good ones with the latest in HBCU sports. Later, we will talk with Alan Williams, Joseph, better known as Joe Clay, Roland Austin, Gaati Werema, Shaunetta Heiskell, although she won't be present with us, she's here with spirit, and as well as our very own Mike Washington of the 1876 Sports and Culture podcast. And so we'll get a little deeper into that because I know they're proud. They actually debuted the inaugural show today. It's on podcast. You can go check it out on all your various podcast platforms. 1876 Sports and Culture podcast. Certainly, if you're from Texas and the Prairie View area, you understand 1876, the significance of that day, in particular for folks in this area, among those around the world. But with that, we'll get a chance to get in that a little deeper. I do have a personal bit of news that I want to get on the table that I was blessed to see today. I am holding the final sheet of a program that I've labored in a lot of ways, probably since 2010, even when I first launched the master's program at Texas Southern University. We have always had the idea of starting a doctoral program at HBCU that has a sports studies educational framework. We're not quite there, but we certainly are a lot closer. So today I had the final signature from the Associate Provost, Dr. Russell Sanford, and the Provost, Dr. Kendall Harris, has signed off on the proposal, and thanks to the College of Education Dean, Interim Dean, Pelcia Glaze, and she signed off early in the process, but without her support, we wouldn't get it done. I also want to shout out to my department chair, Dr. Dawala Fisher, and this was a joint project between two department chairs because it's a partnership between the Department of Health, Kinesiology, and Sports Studies and Department of Curriculum Instruction. So the chair over there in that department is Dr. Ingrid Haynes, and they went a long way in believing in one of my long-time goals, which is to do what is necessary to give particularly African-American HBCU students the opportunity to study from a research perspective of what we talk about oftentimes on this show, sports culture, and the studies of it, specifically looking at HBCUs. So we even now have a certificate that we're rolling out, which will be a certificate in HBCU critical sports studies. But the real thing that I'm excited about is the certificate, which will be an executive doctoral certificate. It'll be an online certificate. It'll be a certificate in athletic administration and a certificate in sports leadership. It's been approved, so the plan is to roll it out in the fall of 2021. So you'll get more information coming forward. But the other part of this is really unique, is the concentration in sport education. And so the Department of Curriculum Instruction, as you imagine, they offer a doctorate in curriculum instruction or a doctorate of education in curriculum instruction. And now with the partnership and those faculty involved in both departments, the faculty in the Department of Health and Kinesiology and Sports Studies will be able to lecture and teach courses that allow students to get a concentration in sports education. So now at Texas Southern University can earn a Doctor of Education, Curriculum Instruction with a concentration in sports education.
Congratulations, Doc.
Giving me a little bit of that.
The true dean.
Exactly. That's huge.
It's
That's
official.
huge.
If it wasn't official before, his bona fide, certified, stamped, and official, the true dean of HBCU sports.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, sir.
Kudos to you, Dr. Cavil.
No, congratulations on that.
No, much love. A lot of people need to thank in terms of making that happen, but certainly appreciate it. So much going on in the background. As I said, you get more information out throughout the spring, and obviously you'll see us doing what we need to do to promote it on our platform here. But really excited about that in a lot of ways. Back to the traditional stuff that we do on the show in terms of the sporting context. But now we have the ability to study it at pretty much the highest level. Can you believe that? With a concentration in sports education. Boy, I'm still tickled quite.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So Chuck Hunt, Franklin Nelson, Reggie Howe has jumped on and treating us. Wendy Jenkins Bishop saying Happy New Year. Chad Cooper checking us all out. Checking in from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Happy New Year, professors. Thank you.
Baton Rouge.
Got it, Chad. I like that. I appreciate it. Reggie Howe says CIAA in the house. Yes, certainly. CIAA country. Alex Hines says Happy New Year's, everyone, here for my first lecture of the new year, Richmond, Virginia, CIAA country. Yes, indeed. And so Chuck is going to get into some of this homecoming talk they got out there. So we get a chance to talk about FAMU's schedule as it debuted. And a lot of people are interested in that schedule so many different ways. Shout out to Roy. Shout out to the team in terms of sports rap with Brian and AD, allowing me to join in there as part of the Inside the HBCU Sports. And the thought process and the brainchild goes to Roy in terms of what that looks like, and some of the other people behind the scenes in terms of what that means, including Kelvin and Kofi, obviously with Brian and AD, about let's make this a big thing about rolling out the schedule. And we certainly saw that the interest is there. So credit for those individuals in the mastermind. And so we're going to continue to be creative in terms of what that looks like in so many different ways. We're looking at pushing a different second part of the show. We'll give you more information as we roll out through the year, and that stuff should be coming pretty quickly. We're looking at some formats, timing slots, and things of that nature, and what makes sense in terms of what that looks like. Looking at doing a partnership officially in terms of the poll rankings, along with AD, what he already drops out there in a lot of ways, and we'll continue to share all of the information in so many different ways. So wanted to give the credit to all those involved, including the VP of Athletics at FAMU, Courtney Gaucher, for signing off on that. Of course, Willie Simmons, one of the best in the business, not only what he's able to do in terms of on the field record-wise, but what he does off the field with his student athletes and being a part of the community. and being a true advocate for HBCUs. And more importantly, to be frank with you, one of the best I've seen out there in a long time, in some sense of some of the greats, to be honest with you, since I've seen it, that has really partnered and understand the need to partner with the media. And
yes, indeed.
Sure voice is out there and giving his perspective on various different issues, not just football. So kudos to what he's able to do. Wanted to make sure I acknowledged him. With that, enough from my mouth. Let's get the brilliant people in here to share with me. Let's go to Charles Bishop and see what kind of HBCU news he has to share of the day.
Yeah, let's jump right into it. As the SWAC named their men's and women's basketball players of the week. We'll start with on the women's side, as the Southwestern Athletic Conference has named Jackson State's Amisha Williams. She is the SWAC women's basketball player of the week for her outstanding performance during the games played from January 2nd to January 4th. Check out this stat line, Dr. Cavil. Williams, the Gulfport, Mississippi native, averaged a double-double tally at 19.5 points per game to go along with her 20.5 rebounds per game. She was a significant contributor on both ends of the floor. As the Lady Tigers, she also averaged 4 blocks to go with 1 steal per game. She had 7 blocks last night against Alabama State in a losing effort, but she was named SWAC Women's Player of the Week for this past week. We take a look on the men's side of the ball, and the Southwestern Athletic Conference is named Arkansas Pine Bluff's Sean Doss Jr. He was a SWAC men's basketball player of the week for this past week. The Marion, Arkansas native contributed 23 points, 13 rebounds, 1 block, 1 steal, and 2 assists during the Golden Lions win over Mississippi Valley on Saturday, 92-52. Doss, it was his second consecutive 20-point game, a 10-rebound effort as he recorded 25 points and 10 rebounds at Baylor December 21st. He has recorded 10 or more rebounds in 3 consecutive contests and has scored 20 points or more in consecutive games 5 times this season. He will be a force to be dealt with in the conference during this conference play as we come upon it.
Wow, big time news as we officially got conference HBCU Division I basketball into the head. Last week you saw a little bit of Hampton and Tennessee State in terms of HBCU programs and conferences outside of the MEAC and SWAC start. They jumped it off, and then this week you had officially with the MEAC and SWAC. But in terms of the SWAC, the COVID-19 hit its head in terms of Saturday. You had 3 of the 5 programs canceled in terms of men's side, 2 of the 5 in terms of the women's side, and then you went yesterday. 2 of those you knew coming in will be on the men's side, and ultimately it became 3. Alabama State head coach who had to be sidelined, but they were able still to get that game on that was broadcast on ESPNU. But on the women's side, you had 2 of the 4 games canceled in regards to what that. So be interesting to follow. I think that's just going to be par for the course for the rest of the season. We'll get a little more dialogue in that later. But with that, let me go to Mike and say, Mike, what HBCU news do you have up for us?
Well, thank you. And again, hats off to you, Doc, on your achievement. I want to talk a little bit of football. There's been a lot of business about this Jackson's or that little school in Mississippi and and all of the transfers that they've had. But I want to point your attention to some recent news and development. North Carolina A&T doesn't have a shabby recruiting class either by all standards. They have hard commit 3-star Isaiah Brooks. They have 6 transfers, including Elijah Brown from Duke, Jawan Truesdale from Mississippi State, Jermaine Martin from I forget where he's from, Courtney McKinney from Wake Forest, Robert Porcher from Virginia Tech. But they've also raised the element. They have started 2021 with a loud sounding boom, landing commits from multiple 3-star recruits, linebacker Sam O'Fury and wide receiver Sterling Burkhalter, both rated as 3-star recruits according to 247sports.com, committed to A&T on New Year's Day. O'Fury is a 6'1", 240-pound linebacker out of Bradenton, Florida. He spent last season at the ING Academy and was ranked the 91st inside linebacker. He had offers from Syracuse, Michigan, Marshall, UMass, all 4 schools except UMass had at least 6 inside linebackers. Burkhalter, on the other hand, is a 6'4" receiver out of Cincinnati, Ohio. He is ranked as the 3rd best prep school receiver in the nation. So kudos to North Carolina A&T, who is quietly having a successful recruiting season. And I say quietly because you also have to look at FAMU's recruiting talent and look at their talent that they're bringing in. You have to look at other schools such as Alcorn State, what they're bringing in, and Prairie View. Of course, Jackson State is getting a lot of the accolades and a lot of the tensions, and rightly so, because they've stepped up their games in marketing. But North Carolina A&T has stepped up big as of lately with their 2 newest recruits on New Year's Day. So let the recruiting wars begin within the SWAC and outside of the SWAC.
Well, what did they say they do at A&T? All they do is make chicken. They continue to make chicken.
That's right.
Oh man, that was appropriate. That was pretty good, there, Charles. I like that. Takes you back.
Yeah. Rob Broadway said.
Now as far
Broadway said that's how we do is make chicken.
Now as far as they homecoming, I've been there. I mean, this GHO mess or whatever they call it. We'll talk. That's a separate show, separate. but they're quite.
Make sure
really
you get them
good
straight
recruiting.
on that now. Make sure you get them straight now. I also want to have one announcement for our guests. Should be piling in here pretty soon, and then we'll jump right into them. But as we're waiting to jump off with all that, I also want to talk about. I teased this back a couple of months, but now it's official. HBCU Pro Sports Media Association has launched the website. And in addition to launching the website, you'll see an official newsletter that's going out. The idea behind this was none other than some of our key media, HBCU media, if you would, getting on here and really coming together as a collective association. If you want to think about it, kind of like the AP news framework, but it's even bigger than that because it's going to be all components of what the AP news looks like in so many different ways. So it was a brainchild of Trevin A. Jones, happens to be a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity too. It's amazing what the brothers find the way to continue to do. Want to make sure I give the official news. And shout out to Founders Day for
Men of Kappa Alpha Psi.
Giving them so much love and doing
that.
Yeah,
they get a little bit of love sometimes. That's all right.
Yeah, I understand that. But the thought process, you can go and check out the website, and we'll have more information for that. But it's HBCU Pro Sports Media, and like I said, the official letter, if you would, coming out in regards to the news brief that is launching. And it's a collection of all sorts of HBCU that cover HBCU programs over the years, coming in, if you would, in terms of what that looks like, launching it forward. So you'll get more information on that, but I'm really excited about that. I happen to be the first vice president, and so I'm going to be working with Trevin A. Jones, that is the president, and in so many different ways. That's going to be fascinating as we just kind of look at that moving forward in different ways of what that means for so many people. With that, I think we have our guest in here, so we can get this jumped off, if you would. We have none other than several of the cast. I won't say characters because that's insulting.
No, you had a right characters. You had a right character. This character.
I'm gonna put my professor spin on this, if you would allow me. Some of the brightest minds out there that I know of, in all seriousness, some of the bright minds that I've had a part of that really have poured into me. So you hear me talking about the collective in so many different ways, and I like to think that I pay it forward. But the reason I have this mindset, other than what came from home, with my mom and dad in developing that next level was when I had a chance to land my destination at Prairie View University. And all of us went to great universities in terms of HBCUs, and many would think outside of that as well. We refer to historical white college universities, but this is about us right now. And so with that framing, these individuals poured into me in terms of allowing me to believe that I could achieve more than what I ever dreamed of. And we continue to push the envelope. So with that, let me stop talking and get some of these people in here and see what they got to say. We got Alan Williams.
What's going
Joseph,
on?
what's going on? Joseph Joe, better known as Joe Clay, one of the few people I know. You just don't say his first name. You got to call it all out. That is his name. His nickname is Joe Clay. His name is Joe Clay, but we call him Joe Clay, and it's official. We got Roland Austin, and we'll be joined shortly by the young lady of the group, which is Gaati Werema. She is a multi champion in terms of women's basketball. You all know her. We've had her interview on the show, and also another individual with the show is Shaunetta Heiskell, and we're going to actually pray up for her. She is dealing with a death in the family. I'll leave it right there because I hadn't had permission to talk more about it, but certainly want to know that she is part of this, and our prayers are to her. And then we have our very own Mike Washington snuck out of the lab to mix it up with some other brothers and sisters to come together with this 1876 Sports Culture and Podcast. We're going to give all of us a chance to jump in here. I'm going to let Charles get in the mix in a little bit here in terms of asking some questions. But I want to jump in here, and since Mike is from this side of the track, I'm going to tease him up and start with him first, and then we'll go, as they say in a lot of different programs, we'll kind of go around the horn if you allow me. But let's start out with Mike. No, I'm gonna do it like this. I'm gonna start with Alan. I'm gonna save you for last, Mike. You've been in this. You get to jump it all the time. You're gonna hold me back.
He's muting your mic already, Mike.
Yeah, my mic is gone already.
You should be used to it.
I'm used. That's exactly. It's par for the course. Nothing new.
Yeah, you know, I had to tease him a little bit there. With that, Alan Williams, tell us about yourself a little bit, quickly, and then tell us why you want to be a part of this project.
All right, Alan Williams, Prairie View A&M, class of 1993, Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. Doc and I actually showed up on the yard the same day in the same program and been down like two flat tires ever since. He was the best man at my wedding and my kid's godfather. So, we've been rolling tight since 1989, baby. This program was really, we have these conversations all the time, it. And it got to a point where it's one of those things. It's like, man, why are we just doing this amongst ourselves? We need to share this. A lot of these conversations around sports, the athletic programs at PV, talking about, what's going on the yard. Both of my sons are at PV now. So that gives me a little more incentive to stay engaged. So that it just gave me an opportunity to really document and archive some of these great conversations that we have amongst each other, and just share ideas and get it out there in the atmosphere, because really with the COVID going on, I can't go anywhere. So this is the best use to my time, man. Otherwise, I'm gonna be 300 pounds ordering Uber.
Detroit, Michigan, bringing it home. Detroit's finest, making sure representing for that. Let me jump over and let me go to Joe Clay next. Joe Clay, in a lot of ways, is one of the vehicles that allowed me to push this off. He's been doing a lot of big things at Prairie View A&M University. And that's why I really worked out when he got the guest host last week on behalf of Mike Washington. As Mike Washington continues to make moves himself. We found out later that he was actually in the Caribbean. I thought he was working, but he how you gonna miss the show for fun? I thought you were working, man. But that's another discussion. With that, Joe Clay, tell us a little bit as we're joined by Gaati Werema, three-time champion. Let me just put it out there and make sure people know. Three-time champion women's basketball, bringing it home for us. with that. But Joe Clay, before you get into a little more about the show, tell me about how it felt to be in the hot seat last week. Now you interviewing as a guest.
Ooh, it was spicy. It was fun, man. It was fun. I told Mike the mic is addictive. It was a cool experience. I understand why you love doing what you do and talking about what you like to talk about, which is sports and HBCUs. What else better topics are there? So wonderful experience. The hot seat, it can get a little dicey. I learned I need to do my homework before I come on the HBCU lab show.
Yeah, you got these professors with the doc. Like, it's the lab. We call it the lab in the lecture for a minute.
I only have 2 degrees. I don't have 3 and 4, so I guess I need to do some homework.
No doubt about it. We'll come back and make sure people know where you're from, because you have an interesting story there. But I want to move it along. We're going to push it forward. And Chivalry's not dead. So, Roland, you the youngest of the group, and you know how that is in terms of the young men here. So you've been pledged in this way a lot. Oh, did I say that? You've been
motivated.
Hey, I ain't got to walk. Look, hands out my pocket. I have to walk around with bottle caps in my pocket no more, you know. So, you know, but hey, listen, man, it's a pleasure to be on. Roland Austin. I'm hailing from Alabama, Mobile, Alabama resident. Well, not resident, but native. And when I got to Prairie View, you know, listen, majority of the folks on this phone were the first faces I saw through a mutual organization called Epsilon Gamma Iota, Fall 94 Tail, raising all kind of, well, it went on and trickulated over into Alpha Phi Alpha, Follow 3. And, you know, again, you start to see the same faces. And, you know, it is an honor to be affiliated with such excellence, right? And Black excellence within that, and Prairie View excellence to top it on top of. No, I'm sorry that, Charles, but yeah, Prairie View excellence.
He's official, unofficial. You know how they go.
Well, you know, we get him a hat. We're gonna send you a hat, Charles.
By all means, thank you.
But man, this show is honestly it encaps everything that that we believe in, that we love, from our tailgating, from our fireside chats on the first night of homecoming, to all in between barbecues and sitting in boardrooms, right? And this show is really kind of bringing all those elements into under one umbrella. So listen, I'm excited. I can't wait to get all of our special guests on and be a conduit for fans to really come in and get excited about some PV, all things PV, sports and culture. So with that, I pass.
There you go. Mobile, Alabama representing.
all day. Mob time, baby.
Mobile.
Went to Atlanta. Then we had to do step and went back to the country.
Yeah, we did, back in Brenham, Texas.
But
they say
Mobile.
Yeah, man.
With that, we're gonna go, as I said, 3-time champion, Gaati Werema, playing at the professional level, lady of the group, keeping us all straight in so many different ways, but really brings an expertise, not quite like anybody else in terms of basketball and the other sports as well. Let me just add that. Don't think she's a one-trick pony. She can talk about it all. Y'all heard her on the show before, just giving us some analysis on basketball and international in so many different ways. So let me introduce none other than Gaati.
Thank you. So are we just doing brief introductions?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So like Dr. Cavil just so gracefully introduced me, my name is Gaati Werema. From Miami, Florida. I have my background, my heritage is Haitian and Kenyan, and I'm very involved in both communities with philanthropy, doing different projects, farming, water, all these different type of projects. But my passion and my love is basketball and sports because I understand the power of sports and what it can do for you. It took me someone that came from the inner city, came from a mother of 8 children and a father that had 7, and really had to scrape myself up, and basketball just allowed me to travel the world. And then ultimately going to the illustrious AAMU, where I matriculated for undergrad as well as for my graduate degree. And I'm so glad that I did, because I just created some long-lasting relationships that have been solid from my freshman year to now, as well as relationships with my teammates. And I played for the great Cynthia Cooper, who was an Olympian, and her resume is just never ending. We'll be here all night trying to say what her accolades was, but Naismith Hall of Fame, and just to name a few. I learned so much at the university and playing on that squad about myself, about life, about how to motivate and inspire others. And I'm really glad to have been invited to be a part of this great project that we're doing to just keep everyone connected, especially during this pandemic where you could feel a lot of loneliness or disconnect, whether you're far away or even in Houston or in Texas. So this is a huge honor, and I can't wait to see the growth of all of this, and especially being a part of this with you guys. Each one of you are dynamic, and I just love listening to you all talk, because I learn a lot when I hear from you all. So being on this journey together, I'm really excited and can't wait to see where this goes.
Certainly perfect timing, as you always have. We're going to go to this commercial break. We're going to bring it back with Mike and let Mike talk a little bit about, share some thoughts, and then we'll just mix it up, make sure Joe Clay gets to tell everybody his background, where he's from, because it's interesting as well. And then we'll do that with Mike giving us some updates in terms of Shaunetta Heiskell, in terms of what she represents, since he did a great job bringing her to the table. This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We'll be right back with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. We are discussing 1876 sports culture with Alan Williams, Joe Clay, Roland Austin, Gaati Werema, Shaunetta Heiskell, and Mike Washington in the mix, along with our very own Charles Bishop, closing out the picture. With that, be right back with you.
You know.
Basketball was on last night.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Spirited. CONJSU Spirit.
Charles is laying in the cut, just smiling in the background. He knows.
That's all right. I like.
All right. This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. As we bring you back, you know you've been listening to 1876 Sports Culture in the whole podcast group here. As it's left off, I said I was going to go to Mike Washington. So let me get to Mike Washington and talk a little bit about his participating in the group, and make sure you share some love with Shaunetta Heiskell in terms of what she's going to bring to the table as a member of the group.
So, well, thank you, Dr. Cavil. And I always joke around. I'm probably the comedy relief on your show as well until you mute my mic. But I was proud that Joe Cleasy, as we call him, Alan Williams, Roland, and Miss Gaati allowed me to be a part of the team and to share. Hats off to that team for all the work they've done. This was birthed out of a lot of concern, a lot of stuff that we wanted to bring to the forefront. But before I get there, let's recognize Shaunetta Heiskell, who is I believe the third female drum major in Prairie View A&M band history. She is one who is not only a drum major, she is very knowledgeable on music, musicianship, if you will. So she will put Dr. Lee and drum to shame. So
and it went to Flight of the Bumblebee.
Exactly.
An HBCU band historian.
Yeah,
exactly.
So talk about that on the series when you talk about Shaunetta. She's not afraid to mix it in, and you're going to get experience for all the band heads out there. And for those that are not, that always ask and question, what is this HBCU band culture? We stick our toes in it for those that are outside of it, and we think we know about it because we HBCU folks. Well, you got somebody that's officially going to let you into the secrets in a lot of ways of what that looks like across the board, challenging, celebrating HBCU bands, including none other than challenging the Marching Storm in whatever different ways. So you'll see that. Before we've done that with Charles Bishop, giving us a chance to talk to a drum major at Jackson State University, bringing in there. So we do that, but now you get a chance to really somebody to mix it up more often. So it'll be fascinating with the podcast. I promised I was going to go to Joe Clay to tell us where he's from in terms of how he ended up getting into Houston, Texas. Before that, he got a little flavor about himself. He over there knows something about the boot. Talk about that for a minute, Joe.
Good evening. Joe Clay, class of 95. I arrived to PV's campus June 1st, 1990. Didn't leave till December of 1995 on the extended program, but that's okay. Originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, where my love of football and sports was born at the local neighborhood parks, Berman Park to be exact, on the West Bank, Algiers. Moved to Houston.
Algiers.
That's right. Moved to Houston. So I was born and raised a Southern fan. Half my family went to Southern. I knew nothing of PV. All I knew was Southern, and I hated Grambling because that's just what it was. But when I moved to Houston, I ended up matriculating to PV AAMU, and ever since I've been a Panther fan, blood down to my bones for life. This podcast was, and the opportunity really born out of, well, you know how they say good trouble. This was born out of COVID trouble.
Yeah.
Hey, we had nothing else but to do but to sit at home and think of things, mess and foolishness to get into.
Right.
Yeah. So
great
this podcast was born out of that.
Great point when you talk about that, because it's so true. With that, let me let Charles, part of the team here, get involved and ask us some questions. But we're going to do it like this. Enough about that. Let's talk about some of the things you're going to talk about. Let's get into it. And so as I pass the mic to Charles to ask a question, I want us to think about some of the news is out there and what is bubbling in your mind, including anybody that may have thoughts on FAMU 2021 schedule that they got out there. You can thoughts on that and how it entangles with Prairie View. Any of the stuff that's going on with our cousins over there at Jackson State and Mississippi, what they get done. And as Joe Clay talked about, being frank with you, some of the biggest rivals right there, Grambling and State Fair, Prairie View, in terms of Southern, is last couple of years have been interesting, especially when you put it on to the women's on the basketball court with Gaati put us back in the mix and made that a lot more fun because we get to talk about beating them quite a bit on women's basketball winning championship. So you can go on any of those areas. But Charles, if you have even another particular question you want to ask, jump in there and ask who you like.
Well, I got an opportunity to listen to the podcast today, and I have to say kudos to y'all in terms of what you're able to do with the podcast. Alan, I heard you quarterbacking it, a great job. I wanted to ask, it's called
Charles. Now he feel like he's fishing. He didn't got a couple of
he tossing out that term.
He's schooling y'all now.
See, what you really heard is 1400 and we're frozen. I was happy to really listen to your stuff. That's what you really heard Charles say.
Kudos. Anyway, I'm gonna ask I wanted to ask this question in terms of what you wanted to get out with the podcast, because and it's called, the sports and culture. Kind of explain the Prairie View A&M culture, because just having an opportunity to be a part of your homecomings and things of that nature, you guys are tremendously close-knit out there, and I've always sort of admired that from afar. But just talk about the Prairie View A&M culture, especially, and some of the things that you wanted to bring out within the podcast.
All right. I'll take that. So first and foremost, PV is a family, particularly for people home away from home. PV is a family from the first day you step on campus. It's all about family. It's a family atmosphere. And so we wanted to really come from that perspective, come from the perspective of how much we love and care about and want to promote the family of Prairie View A&M University, from all sports across the board to also giving the students and coaching staff and student athletes a platform to talk about themselves, discuss what they want to, what's important to them, and to give PV alum all across the globe an opportunity to find out and listen and learn about what are the happenings of their beloved PV without having to be on campus.
Perfect. Anybody else want to jump in with a piece of that?
Yeah,
go ahead, Al.
All right, I appreciate you. So as you guys started that 1400 club, and with everybody having a little more time on their hands, we started listening to you guys and all the excitement around what's going on the Jackson State campus and how you guys were able to connect with alumni. I work with guys that went to Jackson State that will talk about the 1400 podcast. So we've got the dean here. A lot of us, we have our Friday brotherhood Zooms where we smoke our cigars and drink our bourbon. And we got the dean here, who's the number one connector. So he said, man, we need to set this up at PV. And I don't think Prairie View is going to be the last stop here. We'd like to encourage those alumni from other HBCUs, Texas Southern, SU, Graham Fam. Go ahead and start that podcast up, man. There's room and space here for everyone. And it's all about that HBCU culture. And we have a lot of kids nowadays who are looking at HBCUs a little more than they were maybe 5 years ago. Come on home. That's all I can say to them. Come on home. You hear the camaraderie we have amongst each other. This is something that has been built up over years. And I cherish these relationships more than anything in the world. And just to be able to share a little bit of that with the world, and inspire some kids who may be thinking of going to their local PWI to maybe take a second look and look at some of the rich heritage and history and experiences that you can have at your local HBCU.
Mm-hmm.
I know Roland wanted to jump in there. Before you jump in there, Roland, I'm going to touch you up a little bit. We're going to have to teach you how to tighten up your phone. Since you're so used to the podcast, we're going to show you how to do your phone so you get a full screen instead of a little strip there.
Still in the cut.
There you go. All right. No, you know what? Listen, man. Joe and Al, they summed it up perfectly. For me, listen, I grew up in Alabama. My family is torn between Alabama State and Tuskegee. So HBCU culture was embedded in me even growing up. But coming to Prairie View in '93 and experiencing a whole nother, because now you not only had this HBCU environment, right? But now you have something, this Texas flavor that was added to it. And Charles, you said something, man. You went to one homecoming and you felt that culture. And you may not be able to put your finger on it and say exactly what it is, but you felt it. And that's something that I think everybody on this podcast wants to bring to the world, is give you a little taste of it, because anyone that shows up to a Prairie View's homecoming, they leave with an experience. And what you're experiencing is that PV culture. And you may not be able to put your finger on it and identify it and say that's what it is, but you know what it is when you feel it. And that's that family that Joe mentioned.
Man, I really appreciate you sharing. That's a great point. The only one on here that's actually played at the Division I level in terms of sports. We're gonna give her to give us a perspective from that. I'll give a shout out to Mike and Joe Clay because they still think they played a little bit of football there. So, you know, you get these conversations whether they did. But at least officially that we can find records on, we know that we got teachers. So tell us about the sports and culture and what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely want to piggyback off of what the guys said because they're absolutely right. Going to Prairie View, that was for my recruiting trip. That was my first time coming to Texas. And the coaches played it very well, that they brought all the recruits during homecoming. So we got to see, you know, the school when it was just alive and beating with the strongest pulse ever. And we had an opportunity to partake in all the different events and meet all types of people.
You got to come by our tailgate area over there. It's like, since you said, take care of the girl. I said, yeah, bring them over here. I was right first. She's like, what y'all do? Yeah, come on.
Right, yeah, the surveillance, because we were still in high school at the time. But it just was such a pure and comfortable feeling. I had visited a number of PWIs before I visited Prairie View, and I also visited during their homecomings. And while that was a really great experience, there was nothing like that Prairie View experience. And it wasn't the parties, because I wasn't even into partying or anything at that time, but it was just the warmth that you felt all over from people that heard about you or didn't hear about you. It was just the openness. And then furthermore, for the podcast, and why I think it's so important and so special, because as an athlete, when I played, I would just wish and hope for the opportunity to share how I felt during those times as I was playing, and to connect with my family in Florida and all over the country and all over the globe. And this right here gives us an opportunity. Well, back then, the internet and social media wasn't that popular, but now we can touch the whole world. And I sent the link today to my cousin in Kenya, and he was just so happy to tap in. And so this was a little
international, baby.
International. There we go. There you go. Podcast with a passport.
We made it.
Yeah.
Time to forever, baby.
Just delighted to have this honor to share about these current student athletes, because as an athlete, you go through a lot. And just to know that people care and are connected to you, like I mentioned before, during this time of a pandemic especially, and knowing that people are talking about you and still watching you despite the fan attendance being so low due to the pandemic is really special and really beautiful. So yeah, I mean, this podcast has a blue check and definitely verified in my book. So I'm really happy.
We verified by a 3-time champion. I want nothing else to be said right there. Andrew Johnson is checking us out. Frank Nelson, Texas Southern University finalist, winning Chicken Bishop I talked about is on the mix. Chuck Hunt, Todd Jackson, TSU folks in here showing y'all some love. I appreciate it. There you go. Amos Fawcett, Dr. Roderick Byron Holmes, the mathematics aficionado department chair over there at Texas Southern University. Lee Gilmore is checking y'all out, giving you some love. Jimmy Wilson.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Salem State. Yeah, y'all can check it up. Check it out. Nicole Edwards talking about PVU. Donnie Page, Lawrence D. White, big time old school alumnus, giving y'all much love. Juan C. Hill, one of the biggest fans out there that keeps it and always takes care of me when I hit the hill, showing me love. Just want to make sure we give them love. So y'all got the folks out here. Y'all got them out in the kitchen sink. None other than Lonnie Shaw is always in here. My first PVU homecoming was in early 80s. Remember that cow pasture, like the old saying?
Ooh, I know they kicked it. I know they had fun.
Yeah, that's an Aggie fan out there getting much love and getting to show it out of the Dallas area. With that, let's get into some real mix. Let's get into the sports, talk a little bit about everything. So some of the biggest news out there, obviously, in regards to FAMU announcing the schedule 2021. No Prairie View on the schedule, no Texas Southern University. I believe that's going to come around 23, 24, but don't quote me on that. There's some backdoor sources I have there to see what that may look like. But they have Grambling for homecoming. A lot of people talk about that, but they bookend that with 4 road games, 2 before at Alabama A&M, Mississippi Valley prior to the homecoming game, and then they come out of the homecoming game with 2 road games. They go to Southern, and then they go to Pine Bluff before they host the Blue Florida Classic, which now will become another one of the great SWAC classes out there.
But how do they start the year?
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Skip over that. Here we go. Somebody always, there they go.
So I was just going to say that classes I'm hearing now, they talking about it's going to be on ESPN or something like that.
Yep, that's what I heard.
That's what I heard.
So they start out at Jackson State in a conference game, much of like what we do with Prairie View, Texas Southern. So you can kind of tell your experience of what do you think about starting out the season with a conference game, Eastern Division at that, against what seems to be going to be an exciting rival. They have Jackson State in Miami Gardens for a big-time Orange Blossom Classic they're bringing back. Let's go with Alan. What are your thoughts in terms of that schedule there?
I think that they really set their sights on this new conference that they're joining here, coming into the SWAC with a bang. Starting off with Jackson State, you got Prime coming down to Texas. Going down to Florida. So I think that stadium seats what, 26,000?
26,000.
You got to figure in a couple of years they're gonna have to expand that because in the SWAC we travel and we can go up and down I-10, and every school along I-10 you got Southern, you got PV, you got Texas Southern. We're gonna travel, so I think FAMU might be in for a new stadium here. They might have to go across them train tracks and play over there at Florida State or something, because 26,000 they're gonna cut it. Because I know when they play Grambling for homecoming, I think just about everybody on this call is talking about road tripping down for that one. So I look forward to FAM coming in, not just with football, but also you talk like Mike talked about on the show, looking at baseball, track and field. This is a great time for the SWAC. And yeah, they don't have PV on the schedule, but we'll be fine to host them in the championship game on campus on the Hill. We got that stadium. You see behind Joe if you're looking on the Zoom here. We can host them for that championship game.
So it's funny you should say the Hill, because I happened to listen at the broadcast where Dr. Cavil was on with AD.
Coach Simmons.
Yes, and Coach Simmons, and he alluded to the Hill and FAMU having the real Hill. And he said, if we don't play you, don't worry, Prairie View, you can come to our campus and play us in the championship. So it's time for us to give him a little banter back. You can have a homegoing trip and bring yourself back to Prairie View, the real original Hill since 1876. And we can explain to you why it is the real Hill. And you can take that one to the bank. Please tell Coach Simmons that I said this.
I will. In fact, I brought you up. He started cracking because he had his little off hat with FAMU hat. And I told him that you said since he didn't get his Prairie View hat, that you would take the FAMU hat in December 4th when they come to the championship. So I want to get Roland put on this in terms of homecoming. They're playing Grambling for homecoming. You always talk about matchups. Are you of the framework of the mindset that you would like to play a team that has the history of like Grambling, a tough matchup, or would you play as sometimes, as they say, what people perceive as a softer matchup, a game that you think you can win? Which side of the ledger do you come on, Ro?
Listen, anytime you get two large, look, dare I say, party schools together like that for a matchup, stumbling into the stadium is an understatement. It's going to be like a week-long celebration for those folks. So when we talked about it the other day, man, listen, it is worth the vaccine. I'm going to leave it at that. It is worth the shot. So.
That's a good one. That's a good way to close. We're gonna listen to Roland. He finds a way to put the little point on it in so many different ways. Let me chime in with Joe Clay. They go to Southern Baton Rouge, and as you know, that's a long-standing rivalry. As you said, coming out of New Orleans, obviously you knew about the hatred with Grambling State, but I'm sure you heard about the FAMU Southern matchup, which for the longest was the longest-standing intra-conference rivalry game played until they called it off. And last couple of years, they put it back on. Classic last year. A lot of people said that's where some of the momentum came from in terms of them deciding after studying the numbers, where so much support was like, yeah, we need to finally make this move. What are your thoughts, Joe Clay, in terms of the FAMU Southern matchup next year? How will that help in terms of this tough schedule of what Prairie View has to do, seeing that they're playing two of what I would say four of the toughest teams, not counting out Texas Southern either in terms of the West. They having to play as conference intra-divisional rivalries. What are your thoughts on that, Joe Clay?
Well, I heard some people, when the schedule first dropped, I heard some people say, ooh, the SWAC commissioner gave FAMU an entry present, a gift with that beautiful schedule. I look at it the other way. That's a tough schedule, man. That's a heck of a way to enter the SWAC. They got to bring it just about every week. So every game. So, and they have to drive to Southern, to Baton Rouge. No doubt about it. When they looked at the numbers, how many Southern folks, Southernites, showed up to FAMU's campus last year? No doubt those numbers encouraged that move of FAMU to the SWAC. They knew that it was a good move to make. So I can imagine what Southern Stadium is going to look like when FAMU folks make that ride down. It's going to be hostile. It's going to be a heck of a game. I think FAMU's got the talent. They're loaded. They've been doing a heck of a job recruiting. Dare I say, Simmons has done a better job recruiting at FAMU than he did at PV, but that's okay. They've done a great job. KJ Black has done a great job.
Fired.
The offensive coordinator has done a great job at recruiting. They got a kid, the quarterback, they out of the Humble area, who transferred from Kansas State. I think he's going to be the starter. They're going to put up some numbers against Southern. I don't know if Southern's going to be able to match them point for point. It's going to be a heck of a game. FAMU's going to make some noise in the SWAC. I think they're going to dominate the East. I'm calling it right now.
Stop.
I forgot about the prime time. My bad. I forgot.
You
got them dogs.
My
just
bad.
as quiet as I can over here while you guys mingle amongst yourselves with family. But understand.
But really, I think Jackson State has a couple years before they get the talent on par that FAMU has been collecting and has. I think they need about 2 years to get it tight. Hey, but you know, Charles, you may know more than I do on that subject, but I really do.
Go with what you got.
FAM is going to be my pick until somebody shows me different on the East.
Mm-hmm.
Gaati, I'm gonna come to you. Do you want to hear about my poll rankings, or do you want to talk about in terms of Florida, your experience in hearing about the Bethune-Cookman FAMU rivalry and what that would look like in terms of it coming to the SWAC? Which direction do you want to go in?
I'll go with the latter.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So every year out here in Central Florida, where I happen to be right now in Orlando, it's a huge classic game. And there was a huge uprising this year because of COVID and the game being canceled. Nevertheless, people still decided to go to the stadium and tailgate anyway, just for the sake of tradition. So if people are willing to do that during a pandemic, I mean, I can't wait to see what it will look like with the change in conference. And so a couple of years back, several years back, PV came down to Orlando for the classic game, for a bowl game. And it was really great to see all the purple and gold intermingled out here in Central Florida. And just to think about Prairie View whenever they do decide to bring their talents down here to Florida again, whether it's in Tallahassee or Daytona. We know that PV fans will travel, but just knowing that the classic game now is a SWAC classic, and seeing behind the scenes over the years how the SWAC likes to knows how to put on a party, an event, a sports event, and just have so many people come together who are feuding beforehand, and after the game, everyone's hugging and falling all over the place. It's just a beautiful sight. So I'm really excited mainly to see how the SWAC taking control of that game now will put our special touch on it and bring some additional flavor to Central Florida.
No doubt about it. Great points, and I really appreciate you sharing that love. We're going to take a commercial break, and then we'll come back and let you all close it out at the top of the hour. We're going to sign off from our terrestrial KCOH 1230 AM radio side with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University. Again, that's thanks to all our listeners out there at KCOH 1230 AM listening to us interview 1876 Sports and Culture podcast with all the individuals involved with that. We'll be right back. This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, interviewing the crew from 1876 Podcast. Talking a little bit, we'll close out and get each of your closing thoughts. Want to chime in? We got a quote of the day. Roland Austin, quote of the day.
Yep.
The PSU versus FAMU is worth getting the vaccine. #HBCU class. You got talking about Charles Bishop rubbing it. They talking about the 60K. They can move over the dope if they need to. 90K. I love 60K in Miami is a given. White Moore said you heard it. Dominate the East. So he liked that comment there a little bit. Florida Classic. That's right. Don't play. So you got a lot of folks chiming in here, and then Charles giving it back a little bit with 60K a given with his framework in terms of what's going on there. Let me go around the horn, and we're going to say Shiri's not dead. We'll do this as a closing segment. And let's start out with Gaati to talk about how she wants to close in terms of giving people some thoughts. I think she wanted to sneak in a little bit about the Battle of the Band.
Yes. I would be remiss if I don't mention the Battle of the Bands, because that is such a huge event here in Central Florida. As a matter of fact, the attendance of Battle of the Bands sometimes is higher than the actual game itself. And so that just shows you how special that is for the players, coaches, schools, as well as the community. And then additionally, to speak on a topic that we spoke about earlier and the importance of this podcast, I was in Oregon working on a farm last year, and I had an opportunity to share with a lot of people in that region what HBCUs are, what we represent, and tell them a little bit about the culture. And they were just so surprised that all this was going on under their nose, and they had no idea that people were just enjoying life at this level and school at this level, which was just hilarious, as well as understanding what historically Black colleges and universities are. So having the opportunity to educate people who have never heard or who have heard the term HBCUs, but don't necessarily understand what that means. And so what made it even more special was that several of them, 5 of them from a farm in Oregon, came down to homecoming and had an opportunity to experience it themselves. And just hearing their commentary was just hilarious because we got there early and we left late at night. So just some of the commentary to share with you guys. They just were so impressed at the parade with some of the dancers and the majorettes, and I forget which group it is, but it's like the plus size madame dancers, and they were just, once they saw those ladies, they followed them around the rest of the parade. In addition to saying they've never seen that many long eyelashes in one place, which I didn't even think twice about, but I guess lashes are a part of our culture. You know, lashes it just is what it is.
Let me jump in there and give it to Roland. Give me your thoughts in terms of, as we close out the show, what are your final thoughts?
You know, listen, I just hope we're able to deliver a product that fans can be proud of, they can get engaged with, have a platform that they can look to for the information. And you know what? At the bottom line, you want to help rally these fans, get them excited. There is so much going on in the HBCU world, not just in sports, but HBCUs in general. And, you know, at some point, I hope this is a conduit to kind of help some philanthropic efforts go on as well. I mean, listen, the great Dr. Ruth said it best. You know, your greatest, I think she put it, your greatest fundraiser is to do good work. So I hope we do good work and hope that matriculates over into some fans kind of giving back to the university to kind of help us grow and do better stuff.
Absolutely. Well said.
Talking about doing that, as Mike said, well said. With that, before I jump to Joe Clay, Lonnie says, Charles Bishop, watch out, they bring their own referees. But I was like, we used to that between Grambling, Jackson, and Southern. We used to folks bringing their own referees.
All that home cooking.
But he'll fit right at home with Jack State. And the home referees they bring over in those parts. I'm sure Joe Clay, what's your final thoughts? What do you have to say?
I'm just thankful. It's an honor and pleasure to be on your show and to have the opportunity to discuss football, PV, and be silly all at the same time. And I can't wait for the fans to hear Shaunetta Heiskell break down the band, HBCU band culture and history. From our first practice show, she put it down. We was like, dang, we got a star on our hands. So I can't wait for the fans to hear her break it down, and just excited. We're going to keep this thing going for as long as we can. Hopefully we can keep it interested and keep people tuned in.
No doubt about it. You learn fast, Joe Clay. Nice tease there. Get folks to come and check it out so they can hear Shaunetta. She did. I was in tune. I was listening. I was like, man, I didn't know that. I thought I knew something about it. Let me tune it in. Let me give it to Alan, one of the 2 best men I have in my wedding. Let me go with Alan and your thoughts as you close it up.
Man, I am just thankful to be here, be on with the Dean of HBCU Sports. I am really enjoying this. This is something different for me. It's outside of my skill set and something that I would normally do, but I am having a ball with it. And all I can say is I am so looking forward to spring football if we can get a game in. And my prayers are with the Prairie View men's basketball team. It seems like they get dressed for the prom and it gets canceled every time.
No show.
I was all ready last night, man. I'm ready. I got my, I got all my devices set up.
Pads and all
no pads on, because this is what I do now. But I get ready and then postpone, just pop something. Like, Come on, man. So if I'm feeling like that, I can only imagine how they're feeling. Keep your heads up, guys. Stay hungry. We'll get this season in one way or another. I know Dr. McClellan has really got a plan for us. So looking forward to getting basketball and football season in here this spring.
No doubt about it. Let me go to Mike, let you get the final word as you are participating in both groups there. So let me know your thoughts in terms of 1876 sports and culture.
Oh, absolutely. It's an honor. I think you've heard everyone on this screen say it. It's, family. It's about culture. It's about pride. But where else do you get to have a show where you can have barbershop talk, locker room talk, courtside talk, yard trash talk, and all mixed up into one show and bring the culture of Prairie View to the forefront for others to see and to embrace. I'm proud to be a part of it. So please, I echo Joe's words. Come check us out. Enjoy it. Embrace it. Comment on us. Tag us if you like us. So you'll get a treat in store. And I just want to close by please keep the family of Shaunetta Heiskell in your prayers. We miss her. We'll be glad to get her back to the family once everything is straight. But please keep her family in your prayers and thoughts.
Well said. Amen. With that, Charles, I'm not going to leave you out of all this fun here in the mix. I want to give your thoughts in terms of being really a part of this, even from the outside, in terms of what impetus you did, literally coming to my office saying, I need some of this right now. And look where we are now. Long, many moons ago. This is episode 99 in this represented, but we started and had some shows before that. But we're looking to celebrate 100, and you've been a part of all that along with Mike Washington, and look where we are today expanding out. So give me some final thoughts from yourself.
Well, I want to first and foremost say welcome into this HBCU stratosphere in terms of bringing the culture and the sports of Prairie View for the masses, especially for your fan base. I know not only with Dr. Cavil's show, but with the 1400 Club podcast, it is a labor of love. We completely enjoy talking Jackson State sports, Jackson State history, and trying to bring that to a new generation. So I hope that you get that same excitement in terms of bringing that same sort of something to the Prairie View alumni and Prairie View fans, and to continue to push the narrative of HBCUs and HBCU athletics. Welcome in. So I definitely want to tell you all that, and I'm looking forward to listening to your podcast.
No doubt about it. Well said, Charles.
Thank you.
As always, appreciate you holding it down in so many different ways. And for all of y'all being a part of this, and really, as I said, all the fans that enjoy what I do and what I've been able to put together, both academically and athletically, and now even on the entertainment side, you're seeing the reason, the picture for what has been my thrust outside of, like I said, my family with Faith and now Deuce being a part of that building block. All those are the structure of why I do what I do and allow me to have the fans and bring it to you. So I'm blessing these folks, congratulating them, and looking for them to do everything they want to do and more. With that, I wanted to give another shout out to Ralph Cooper, as we said, the Texas Radio Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer.
Always.
He incubated this, so he doesn't know the trouble that he started. I know he's proud because he's done this for so many years with so many people, and now his fruit to his labor in terms of what he wanted to do from the very beginning is starting to take on wings that I'm sure that he never knew, but I'm certainly proud and happy and thankful that he gave me the first chance in a lot of ways in terms of a radio airway to let me bless the mic, as we say out there, and look what's going on now. So all the fans, I want to thank you all for what you all do. Continue to support us. Shout out to Rob Calloway. We're going to bring Rob Calloway back. He's a fan favorite in terms of how he gives it. He's just funky. Alabama State great out there at Atlanta, bringing it like no one other. He knows the band side of it too.
Oh, Rob, a fan favorite?
ATL Rob.
Rob, a fan favorite?
We got on the Jackson State side over there, messing with them a little bit. he just putting the stick in the mud. You know, he got bored, been out so long, he wanted to make sure people knew he was back. So don't get it twisted. He know what he's doing. He been in the media circus. Sometimes they do it on purpose, and we tag right onto it, and they just reeling everybody in. In terms of the I turned the other chapter. I said, "You ain't fooling me. I know what you're doing."
Yeah. He promised that he would put Charles and I in his little tagline. Of course he did. He did you justice. My damn all over Atlanta. And he gave me and Charles a little 2-second. Oh yeah, Charles and Mike.
You know? Yeah, I know. And them other two guys.
And them other two guys.
Hey, now, he did bring y'all on the show and do interviews with you all. Well, did now.
Yeah, so
see how people treat you. Y'all don't get like that, Mike. Charles. You don't get like these guys. Heads get big. I'm gonna have to press that mute button as I do for Mike. Thank you for listening. Sports Lab. Make sure you join our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I have a top 5, so listen to us, sneak it out. We'll maybe bring back and sneak and do a podcast or another streaming show to give you the top 5 this week as we sneaking stuff out there. Watch behind us. We're always on the move. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and the rest of my crew here from 1876 in sports culture. I just want to say I hope you enjoyed this interview as we take the next step in big adventures as we continue to grow and move forward. And again, we will want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. We look forward to next week as we will discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil, DrKenyattaCavil. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles.
Horse.
Mike. Lecture.
Dismissed.
All right.